culture and the arts. You're watching PBC Jamaica.
This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The People's National Party, PNP, says it has taken note of the Office of the Contractor General investigation of activities in Southeast St. Anne. In a release yesterday, the party said it had referred the report to its legal advisor and Integrity Commission for review and will await their recommendations. Meanwhile, lawyers representing a Member of Parliament, Lisa Hanna, says there is no criminal culpability on the part of their client and vowed to vigorously defend Hanna's, quote, unblemished, end quote, character. The attorneys at law, K.D. Knight and John Jr. from the law firm Knight and Jr. and Samuels, says the allegations of corruption in the OCG's 554-page report are without foundation. The OCG report tabled in Parliament on Tuesday recommended that criminal investigations be pursued into a possible conspiracy between Hanna's constituency office, the St. Anne Municipal Corporation, and contractors to defraud the government of Jamaica. Downtown Montego Bay was flooded after several hours of heavy showers on Wednesday afternoon. The heavy downpour caused the major gullies in the western Jamaica city to overflow their banks, leaving the roads and several buildings flooded. Photos and videos on social media sites show flooded cars abandoned in the streets converted to major waterways. We spoke with Western correspondent Mark Anthony Marsh about the current situation in the town.
Morning, Simone. As of this morning, most of the water in the town itself had subsided. There's not a lot of street cleaning going on right now, a lot of mud, a lot of debris. However, I drove through some of the back communities, Salt Spring Road and those places, and they are devastated right now with water going through houses, new road, waterways created, walls torn down, road torn away. There was even a car that was in a gully that the water took it out of the person's yard and it went into the gully, and now the car is like totally decimated. However, surprisingly, traffic flow this morning is not bad. But it's going to take a while for Montego Bay to get back to normalcy. I can tell you that much.
Look on the barber green, a quarter-inch thick.
And we go with that
and the contractor, then we are getting the money and put it in.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness will today lead a team of government officials and technical personnel from the National Works Agency on a tour of sections of Montego Bay St. James. Several sections of the second city were severely impacted by flash flooding yesterday, which left some roadways blocked for hours. The country has been experiencing unprecedented levels of rainfall since March this year. The extraordinary weather event has overwhelmed the drainage systems, resulting in flooding. The Prime Minister is urging residents not to cross flooded roadways and remain safe during this period of unstable weather. In Kingston, Mayor Delroy Williams says that plans by his municipality to effect well-needed road repairs as a result of continued rainfall in recent weeks will run into millions of dollars. Roadworks is to be undertaken in tandem with the planned rehabilitation and road patching effort of the National Works Agency. He says that the city engineer has been given the go-ahead to create a list to denote the priority in which repairs are to be taken. Williams told reporters that engineers were also given the charge to coordinate with the NWA and the National Water Commission to be clear on which agency is doing fixes to what roads. Children are expected to receive improved services from the state as the Ministry of Labour and Social Security and Child Protection and Family Services Agency have signed a 2-year memorandum of understanding to establish a referral system. The system will facilitate social intervention for vulnerable persons, including former and present wards of the state and at-risk youth.
as we seek to build families in this country of ours. We want to make sure that the most vulnerable, which I'm sure both of us serve, are protected, are provided with services in a timely manner. And so we see this partnership as very valuable.
This MOU will be revised as we further dialogue together to see how we can include our program as it relates to child labor and some of the activities that the government has committed to undertake in conjunction with the ILO.
The Caribbean will take center stage on November 27 with a 3-day conference on jobs and inclusive growth to be held under the theme Partnerships for Sustainable Growth. The conference is a collaboration between the United Nations World Tourism Organization, Government of Jamaica, World Bank Group, and Inter-American Development Bank Global. The Tourism Organization and the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association are sponsors of the first day's events and the other events afterwards. Several highly anticipated papers will be delivered by eminent tourism luminaries on the first day, including world-renowned tourism expert Professor Eduardo Feososola. The conference will be held at the Montego Bay Conference Center in St. James. In regional news, $2 billion was pledged at the CARICOM UN High-Level Pledging Conference in New York this week. The International Development Bank promised $1 billion in loans. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton was on hand to urge the international community to make pledges with the understanding that the funds are an investment for the future.
But this is the best opportunity, I believe, that the United Nations has ever had and probably will ever have in the near future, to test everything we all say we believe. Not only about solving the problems we face, but seizing the opportunities we have. Not only about overcoming the burdens that have been left in the wake of all the ruin of these horrible hurricanes, but seizing the opportunity of a place where the sun shines 300 days a year, the wind blows, and there are lots of other opportunities. So I would just like to plead with you to take the leadership and give all the money you can, but also to do as much regional planning as you can and support for individual leaders who are taking unusual initiatives.
Meanwhile, CARICOM Chairman Dr. Keith Mitchell described the pledging conference as a historic event and thanked the international community for their support.
The United Nations Complete Program, the Secretary General of CARICOM and the staff of CARICOM for the amount of work that they have put into this important session that we have here today. And colleagues, therefore, I look forward to many of your commitment to join us in this important partnership in Grenada on the 5th to the 7th of December, when Richard Branson and the private sector team around the globe will be making further commitment to a smart climate change region of the Caribbean.
Still on regional news, Colonel Jamie Ogilvie of the Jamaica Defense Force is to lead a team undertaking a strategic review of Dominica's police force. National Security Minister Rayburn Blackmore announced the measure earlier this week. According to Minister Rayburn Blackmore, the intention is to assess the functional services and effectiveness of the law enforcement agency. The review is also expected to allow for recommendations for the improvement and strengthening of the Dominica police force. He said the exercise will also examine capacity building and capability development, recommendations and associated costs, and an implementation roadmap. In sports, we're on the pitch as West Indies head coach Stuart Law says he is pleased with the improvements the regional side is making. The West Indies is fresh off a 2-1 test series win over Zimbabwe in Bulawayo And now they want to take that winning form into their upcoming series clash with New Zealand. Law says the team has what it takes to challenge their opponent.
We've had to change a lot of things, but not drastic changes, just little tinkerings and little making people understand that this is what's needed to keep going forward. So, our fitness levels have gone up. Our consistency then improves on the field, and I've always said these boys have got the skill. Once they have the fitness and the idea of how to play the game, they'll just improve out of sight. So we're in the right direction. We're moving in the right direction. But we've got to continue to do so.
The Windies has not won a series in New Zealand soil in 22 years. Law says that the tour will not be a walk in the park.
They're a very tough side. We know that. They're going to be very highly competitive. Conditions that they're very comfortable in and understand wholly and solely. So, but we know it's not going to be turn up and win the games. We have to work hard and fight hard to win everything we get. And that's what New Zealand provide. They always provide a great contest, no matter who they play against. They tend to grow 10 foot tall and become bulletproof. So we know we've got it tough, but I'm confident that our boys can give a really good account of themselves.
Still with cricket, as West Indies batting powerhouse Chris Gayle blasted his second-half century to push Rangpur Riders to a narrow 3-run victory over Kieran Pollard's Dhaka Dynamites. But Dwayne Smith's 50 proved in vain as Rajshahi Kings lost again in the Bangladesh Premier League. On Tuesday, the left-handed Gayle, who only arrived last weekend, pummeled 51 from 28 balls in a man-of-the-match performance, as riders sent in by the league leaders were dismissed for 142, with a ball to spare at the Sher Bangla National Stadium. Gayle dominated a 36-run opening stand with New Zealander Brendan McCullum and a further 35 for the second wicket with Mohamed Mithun 22 to keep the innings going. And in football, four-time defending champions Jamaica College and former winners St. Andrew Technical High School on Wednesday advanced to the final of the Issa Flo Manning Cup with exciting wins over Holy Trinity and Kingston College respectively inside the National Stadium. JC showed their championship mettle with a hard-fought 3-2 extra-time win over Holy Trinity after the teams were tied 1-1 at the end of regular time. They're in the final for a fifth consecutive year. Stats edged out KC 2-1 and booked their spot in the final for the first time since 1987. And that's it for the news. Do stay with us for the weather forecast. That was PBCJ's weather forecast. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, PBCJ is the people's station.